podcast, where today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Marcos Pahumpa de Matta. A quick reminder for those that enjoy this podcast, please take 30 seconds to leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify and subscribe to the YouTube channel. This helps the show get discovered organically and helps me continually bring on amazing guests. Also, there are now timestamps in the show notes, so feel free to jump around, although I recommend listening to the episode in its entirety. Marcos Pahumpa de Matta is the head jiu-jitsu coach at American Top Team and holds a pro MMA record of 15 wins and 3 losses, which followed his decorated career as a jiu-jitsu competitor under Grandmaster Carlson Gracie. He is a dedicated coach, and his expertise, combined with first-hand combat sports knowledge and leadership style, make him a fantastic guest and icon to learn from. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Without further ado, Marcos Pahumpa de Matta. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marcos, for taking the time to be here out of your busy schedule. Like I said, you have some of the most talented athletes in the world at your fingertips. And to be here for the hour, it really does mean a lot to me. So thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. That's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
I've been thinking a lot about how I wanted to start this. And being a coach myself, a personal trainer for years and a former athlete, one thing that has always fascinated me about mixed martial arts is, more than anything, that the potential for differences in personality types that you're exposed to. And I had heard in an interview that you called coaching an art form, which I loved. And I wonder, when you're in a room like American Top Team and you have as many athletes as you have that are as good as they are, and they're in there to be trained to be intelligent, ferocious animals capable of knocking someone out, how do you manage the drive to be aggressive and the need to be intelligent?
As far as the coach's perspective, or as far as the fighter's perspective?
As far as the coach's perspective, when you're working with your athletes.
I'm a very how can I say, hands-on coach. You know, I'm always on the mat with the fighters that I coach. I'm trying to be always as much as I can rolling with them. Of course, there's some people that's hard for me to roll with, like people heavier than 170 is kind of hard to give them, you know, enough competition, because, you know, obviously they're, like you said, they're pretty good, you know, monsters. And when they're like over 170 pounds, actually when they fight over 170 pounds, which means that they walk around 185, 190, it's kind of hard for me. You know, I can still roll with them, but I'm not going to be, you know, too much of a competition. You know, now my 135 versus 145 versus 125 versus up until 155, I'm pretty good at it. You know, I roll consistently with my guys. So I'm always trying to be as much as I can infused on their training, you know, and I'm very I would say a hard coach. I learned from Carson Gracie, which was, you know, not a mellow guy kind of guy. You know, I'm always, you know, aggressive with them. I'm always yelling at them, because if it's not perfect for me, it's wrong. You know, I'm not gonna let them, you know, just go by doing something wrong just because, oh, they're tired or nothing like that. I mean, I want the perfection on each and every day. I want to try to make them perfect, which is obviously impossible. Nobody's perfect, but I'm driving for that goal. So as close as I get from perfection, I'm good at it. You know.
And that was something you're saying, that was kind of coming up under Carlson Gracie, that the mentality and the intensity that you guys all brought to the mat was aggressive.
Yes.
And in pursuit of excellence all the time.
Yes. That's something that Carlson used to thrive back in the day, and he used to always want from us is perfection. You know, it's not perfect, it's not good. That's my motto. If it's not perfect, it's wrong. That's what I try to put on their minds. That's what I try to pursue each and every single day on the mats, with all of them. So
Where
again,
does that
obviously,
start with? Um, do you feel like that's mostly rooted in drilling, the pursuit of
yeah, I mean,
perfection?
I since my young days, and that I got from Carson, obviously, but I got mostly from the person that helped me the most my entire career in jiu-jitsu. His name was Amaury Bitetti.
Hmm.
So he is the one that introduced the drilling into my training. He was the one that showed me how to create drills. He was the one to show me how I could be so successful with drilling, you know. So I brought that mentality into my competition days, to my jiu-jitsu gi teaching days, and into my MMA teaching days. So I incorporate those drilling up onto in an everyday situation. So to drill correctly, you have to drill perfect. That's when you come for perfection, and the brain is gonna start doing very automatically
Right.
because of the repetition. So that's what I try to do every day with my guys, like drill, 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 drill until you're doing that in your sleep.
Right. It is it a challenge in the martial arts world to get some personalities on board with this idea of repetition, doing the small things over and over and pursuing perfection on small things like drills, and maybe it's like an entrance into a takedown, or it's the finishing touches on a submission. Do you ever have resistance from athletes?
I am I consider myself a very lucky coach because maybe because the way I am, like I said, I'm not a mellow guy.
Right.
So there's no negotiation when a fighter trains
Right.
with me. Oh, can I? No, 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 no. You're gonna do what I tell you to do, and the reason you're doing that is because you trust me. Otherwise, you wouldn't be training with me. You would be training with another coach at American
Right.
Top Team. So if you choose to train with me, if you choose to to learn from me, if you choose to trust me, then trust me. So I consider myself very lucky and very, you know, um, I think lucky is the best word to describe because I have no resistance from anyone I train. You know, Obviously there's always a conversation. There's always a exchange of ideas, exchange of game plan and strategy with the fighters that I train, with the coaches that train the fighters with me. Because I don't do everything by myself. I can't do anything. I can build a champion by myself. That's impossible. Maybe 30 years ago, that could be done when there was still jiu-jitsu against boxing, jiu-jitsu
Right.
against, you know, but nowadays everybody trains everything. So you need to have help with wrestling coaches, striking coaches, conditioning coaches, boxing coaches. So it's all we do that all together at American Top Team. I don't know any other gyms, but at American Top Team, we do everything all together. So I don't do everything by myself. But we talk a lot about the approach that we're gonna have for different fighters, for different fights. I'm gonna give you a perfect example. The next one in line is Movsar Evloev. He's fighting Bryce Mitchell
Yep.
on November 5th. So the
Headline.
approach for headline, yes.
Yep.
So the approach for this fight, it's a little bit different than usually my approach is, which is always takes this fight to the ground and
Yep.
finishing people.
Right.
Whether it's from um, ground and pound, submission, whatever, right? So for this fight, since Bryson Mitchell is such a dangerous opponent on the ground,
Right.
he's such a skilled grappler. Obviously, we're gonna try to keep the fight standing up, be a little more dynamic. If the fight goes to the ground, I want to make sure that Movsar is on top. You know, so That being said, that's the strategy that me and the coaches that are helping me with Movsar we're gonna approach. Now, obviously, if we put, uh, uh, for example, the last one of the year for me are Sarukian against Damir Ismagulov, right? The two guys that trained at American Top Team, two guys that I help
Two people that know
personally.
you, know your style, know the coaching.
Yeah, but not only that, I'm with Armand Sarukian since he lost to Islam. So after he lost to Islam, he came to American Top Team, and we've been together ever since. You know, and Damir had his last camp done on American Top Team, which I helped him. Obviously, it's a different approach from Armand than it is from Movsar, right? Obviously Armand is a better wrestler, is a better grappler than Damir. So we're going to try to be always dynamic, always complete, but we're going to try to approach more of a grappling side,
Right.
with Armand. So we always have to, diversify, you know, um, it goes without saying that we have to have a good conversation, but once I put the strategy, the game plan together, there's no negotiation. You're going to drill what I want you to drill, you know, and the other coaches as well.
Well, I think that it goes back to something that you've touched on a couple times is this idea of trust. I mean, if you're an athlete, right, you can go train at anywhere in the world, but you choose to train at certain places because of whether it's pedigree, whether it's coaching style, communication style, whatever it is, you're becoming you build a relationship with the athlete. The athlete builds a relationship with the coach. There's levels of trust that are part of that you have to have in any sport. Because if you make a decision about what you're doing and why, you can't have it second guessed by the athlete. And as the athlete,
Exactly.
you don't have enough energy to worry about the ins and outs of why decisions are being made. And it sounds like at American Top Team, you guys do a phenomenal job of communicating between coaching levels. So you have you with your entire pedigree and history as a decorated and celebrated jiu-jitsu practitioner, your history in judo, and then Steve's understanding and accolades in the wrestling world. You, in one sense, it's like too many cooks in the kitchen, but it sounds like you create a good communication channel to come up with the best possible way to approach each fighter and each style. But I wonder within that, the roster is huge, right? And only a couple fighters maybe at a time have a contracted bout that you're really focusing in on. Like you said, between now and the end of the year, there's two big ones for you. Does your time become kind of like hyper focused on one athlete to get them there? Or how do you and the rest of the coaches divide your availability while still giving everyone such a valuable product within the walls?
No, I think you understood me wrong. I just said that Movsar is the first and Armand's the last. But in between, there's so many guys. I'm actually really grateful that I not gonna travel in October because I was supposed to travel with Edson Barboza, which was a big one against Topu. But Edson got hurt, had a knee surgery, so I won't be traveling in October. But starting in November, I have every weekend until the end of the year.
Yeah,
So
I did misunderstand you.
I was just giving you an example of different
Right.
strategies,
Yeah.
But you're right. In American Top Team, we have so many coaches and so many athletes. For example, I have the guys that I'm the CIC. We do everything by CIC, which is coach in charge, which is the head coach. So
Gotcha.
I have the athletes that I am the CIC. Mike Brown has some athletes, a lot of athletes also that he's their CIC. Conan the same thing. So us three are the pretty much the busiest, CICs are American Top Team. But also we have so many striking coaches, so
Right.
many other coaches that helped other fighters. That, like you said, it's all about communication. It's all about us helping each other out. I usually say that there's a lot of little American Top Teams inside American Top Team, but in the end of the day, everybody is working and training hard for one same common goal, which is American Top Team on top. Doesn't matter which coach, doesn't matter which fighter, as long as American Top Team comes out on top, we're good, you know.
It's wild when you look at it. You know, I'm out here in California. I've never been to the facility, but you can go online and do this virtual tour, and you go through it, and it's it's like doing a tour through a college. I mean, the amount
Yeah.
of space, the how disciplined everything is, and sectioned off for different things that you can train to even. And I honestly think I think that this is one of the coolest things that I heard that you guys do is these athlete dorms, like to be able to provide an opportunity for an athlete to immerse themselves in the sport that they're doing, especially in a developing and growing sport like martial arts. You don't even see that in some of the biggest already existing sports, right? That the athletes don't even
Yeah.
have that kind of support. But the fact that you're willing to take on a new athlete and invest in them in that way, allow them to be 100% immersed in what they're doing, I can only imagine as a coach like what that does to your availability and your impact on that person. Is that something that you had always wanted to help grow, or where did that come about?
I think we're pioneers in the sport over and over and over. For example, I'll give you a perfect example. In 2002, American Top Team was a pioneer, was the first big gym to have everything under their own roof. So our fighters will come to American Top Team and train everything under one roof. He doesn't need to drive to a jiu-jitsu school. He
Right.
doesn't need to drive to a striking school, a Muay Thai gym, do conditioning in some other facility, and then come do the sparring or
Right.
or anything else in at American Top Team. No, American Top Team was created to put everything under one roof, so the fighter didn't have to drive to other locations to do other disciplines. Everything under one roof. That was in 2002. We had a big facility. We got on the map because of that. Fast forward 10 years later, um, 13 years later, 2014, 2015, we made history again by being the first mega gym, which was everything under the same roof, plus dorms, kitchen, podcast studio, a, a bar, um, sauna, cold plunge, conditioning, everything,
Yeah.
So that was again made history in 2015. Now we not only have the dorms at our gym, but we also have 5 houses that we own
No
to
way.
put more fighters. Yeah, because
Wow.
at the dorms we reserve for guys on big shows, UFC,
Yeah.
PFL, Bellator,
Like headline,
and
not necessarily headliners, but on the
and
card.
yeah, and Rising, right? So these 4 shows were the biggest shows in the world right now, right?
Right.
So if you are fighting one of these shows and you live away from Florida, you come, you do your camp, you stay at the dorms, which
So
is
it's like
three.
a cycle, a rotating.
Yes, yes. We
Gotcha.
don't
Gotcha.
have, we cannot have somebody living all year long
Right.
at our dorms because we have so many fighters coming and going. Okay, so you're gonna come for 3 months or 4 months or 2 months or 4 weeks, whatever. We need to have a space for everybody, right? And then we have other fighters that still fight in other shows, even in UFC, but they're not top 10, top 15. You know, we don't like to say they're not as important. Everybody's important for
For sure.
American Top Team. But obviously, they're like title challenges. They're top 15 guys, top 10 guys, really, really good prospects. Then we're going to have to put them at the gym, at the dorms. But we also have space for training partners, for, coaches that's still like in the process of getting a home, whatever. We have houses that we help them as well,
So you had
So
you had touched on on sauna and cold plunge, which I think is phenomenal. Like it to put an emphasis on recovery, especially in a sport that's so like work centric, where it's output, 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 output in all these different modalities, from wrestling to jiu-jitsu to striking to kickboxing, Muay Thai, all this different stuff. And to actually put a focus on the athlete's ability to recover, to properly eat the right foods and get their body in the right condition to sustain all this output. How important is recovery within your training frequency of your athletes? Is that something that's talked about, or is it kind of a open, come and go as you please, like do what you would like, or is that baked into their camps, into their programs to keep them in line and in the best shape possible?
Man, I think this is something that at least I, as a head coach, do with my guys a lot. I want to make sure that they have tough training and really good rest,
Yeah.
because I need them fresh for the next. So I always break in cycles that I can have. For example, on a Wednesday night, nobody that's in camp with me is doing anything. So Wednesday night for me is 100% a recover. You can do a massage, you can do cold plunge, you can do whatever, and since we have everything at the gym, a lot of our fighters, they do sauna on a daily basis, not to lose weight,
Right. For
but
recovery.
as a recovery, yeah.
Yeah.
And since we have cold plunge, you can do back and forth sauna, cold plunge, sauna, cold plunge. So it's very convenient, the facility that we have here.
Do you just have like thousands of athletes chomping at the bit to try to be part of American top team? I just feel like even
Yes, yes.
as a former, so I grew up competing in skiing, and had I had the opportunity to live in a facility like this where I got to like ski every day, recover every day, live with my coaches, eat with nutritionists. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know what I would have been willing to pay out of my own pocket to do that. It's the ultimate dream of an athlete to be able to immerse yourself without distraction.
And the best part is only pay 5% of your purse. Most gyms
Wow.
charge 10%, right?
So you actually
That's that.
front them. So let's say you're in an 8 week or 6 week camp. You actually front them the housing, and then it only comes out of their purse at the end of the event.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have to pay anything for
That's
the
amazing.
housing. They don't have to pay anything extra for the house. All they got to do is we charge 5% of their purse. We don't touch Venom
Right.
money, which is the uniform money. We don't
Right.
touch it. But obviously, performance of the night bonuses, anything related to purses, we charge only 5. I can tell you, no other gym in the world charges only 5%. I
Well, and
see gyms.
you always hear horror stories, right? Of like someone that said that they were going to pay or they didn't, or someone said it was this and then it ended up being that. I feel like when you're an athlete and you're trying to focus on something, as many things that can be ironed out and figured out, down pat, done beforehand, better. So if it's 5 and it's going to be 5 today and it's going to be 5 tomorrow, and you know it's going to be 5, then that's something that you can digest and plan for, and it's
Yeah,
fair.
because
So
think about this. You have to pay most likely 10% for your manager,
yeah,
right? And usually is 10 for the manager and 10 for the gym. That's like 99.9% of the gyms, they do that. Oh, we charge 10% for the for the training. And then obviously you pay 10 or sometimes 15% for your manager, that's 20%. At American Top Team, you pay only 5%, of your purse. And then whatever you pay for your managers, that's your problem.
right,
So
that's separate.
usually it's 15% that you come out of your purse before taxes. But you know that for the gym, that gives you everything that we do, all the training partners, all the good and proven high level coaches, the facility, everything for just 5%, I think is a no brainer, you know.
For
And
sure.
like you said, there's a lot of people. There's a whole lot of people that wants to come and join us, but we have a process of admitting people at the gym. Otherwise, it would be another job. It would be
Right.
like crazy. We wouldn't
So
have space.
how do you allow, like, what do you look for in a potential prospect? And then also, I'm sure this happens from time to time, unfortunately, but how do you decide to part ways with an athlete?
I mean, number one, the selecting process, you have to send an email to our general manager, Richie, at American Top Team, and then we're gonna discuss if this person is a good prospect, if the age, and also the personality, why he's coming here,
Right.
what happened at his old gym. No, he just wanted to get better and reach the next level. Okay, no problem. You know, he's 10-0, 20 years old. Man, this guy's really good.
Right.
Another, again, talking about him, Movsar. He was 10-0 already in the UFC. I think 1-0 in UFC. No, 2-0 in UFC. He was 10-0 and he wanted to join American Top Team at 22 years old. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That is a no-brainer. Armand Sarukian the same way. 22, 16 and 1 or 16 and 2 when he just lost to his love. It's a no-brainer, you know. And then we have, for example, Amanda Ribas. She was 7-1 and she wanted to join American Top Team.
Is her fight back on? It was
December 3rd. December 3rd.
okay. Got you. Did she have? I thought
Yeah.
she had a fight canceled or moved
No,
recently.
she fought the blonde fighter, and she had like a separate bicep before that fight,
That's what it was.
so she had to go into surgery
Yes.
afterwards. But then now she's already training full time back home in Virginia, and then she's going to be probably coming here end of this month to American Top Team.
So
She's fighting Tracy
I
Cortez.
sidebarred us there for a second, but you mentioned the right personality, and I've always found this really interesting, especially because I don't know. Let's say it's like baseball, right? And you come out of college, you're a phenomenal baseball player, you have an insane batting average, and you're a top prospect. Of course, there's going to be a need to assess the personality of the player relative to the locker room, right? You don't want to bring bad juju into a locker room and mess everything up. But at the same time, when the baseball player sets up to the bat, it's them and the ball, right? And they're going to hit it or they're not going to hit it. In mixed martial arts, there's ego, there's humility, there's all these other factors that are expressed every single day in the training hall. And so it becomes really important, I would imagine, to be wise about what personalities you mix for the betterment of the entire facility, of the entire team, and the morale and camaraderie that you have there. So when you're bringing someone new on, do you look for someone who's aggressive and a go-getter and they want to prove themselves, or does that conflict with existing personalities, or does that slide and change and adjust as you go?
No. I mean, when I mention the personality, are you a nice guy or are you a problem creator?
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Maybe some people, for example, I'm gonna give a perfect example. Omari Ahmedov. Okay, he's the mellowest, nicest guy you ever meet. At the gym, he's not too aggressive at the gym. Great training partner. He's kind of like the older Russian that sets the tone for all the other Russians that comes in. Really great example. But when he fights, he's very aggressive.
Right.
But what I said about personality is, are you gonna help your training partners, and with that they're gonna help you, or you're gonna be selfish, or you're gonna be egomaniac that are gonna create problems that later on you're gonna have to let you go. That's
Right.
what we basically want to know before you join American Top Team.
American Top Team does have some of mixed martial arts' largest personalities. And I can imagine that when you have people like Jorge and Colby in your gym, Dustin, it brings a lot of eyes, it brings a lot of ears, notoriety. On top of that, these fighters perform very well. You have a ton of up and comers. is that always viewed as like they say good? Any publicity is good publicity, right? How do you guys view stardom at American Top Team?
I think there's a place for everybody. You know, like you said, George Masvidal is there. You know, Dustin. You know, that's everybody can coexist. You know, Johnny Ablin, our Bellator champion.
Yeah.
You know, we have Nathan Schutz, PFL, two-time PFL champion. You know, we have so many people, you know, that it's a place for everybody. It's all about organization, because everybody wants to. I want to use the cage. Oh, I want to use the cage. No, my fight's important. Everybody has the chance to use the cage. Everybody has a chance to train. Everybody has a chance for the coaches. It's all about communication. The more we communicate in between the coaches, the easier it will be for the fighters. It's like going down on the on the on the hierarchy, right?
Right.
So if you come to a coach and he says yes, and you come to another coach, he says no, that's a problem,
Right.
because they're gonna go only to the yes man, right? Now, if all the coaches are together, say no, it's a no. I'm
Right.
sorry, you have nowhere to go. So that's what we
That's
try to do.
amazing that you guys have
That's what,
that kind of communication amongst each other,
yeah,
especially
we
given
have to.
how expert each one of you are, you know?
Yeah, we have to. You know, sometimes we have to compromise.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do have to compromise. Sometimes, even though I don't want to, I have to, because that's what we need to do. You know, sometimes I'll give a perfect example. One of my fighters needs a southpaw, and let's say um, Mateus Gamrot is a perfect, you know, fit for my fighter to spar with, and then I need him. But let's say, for example, Dusty Poirier, which is fighting before my fighter, also needs Gamrot. So he's gonna help Dustin
Right.
because he fights first, and I will try to have somebody else to help, or maybe we can, you know, compromise. Okay, he helps me on Tuesday and he helps you on Thursday. But that's all comes down to communication between the coaches,
Right.
you know, and that's what I think we do a pretty good job, you know, and we can manage egos. You know, you see so many people in the same weight division. For example, in Bellator, Johnny Ablin, Austin Vanderford, Dalton, Rasta, all three top five guys.
Yeah.
Now, Johnny is the champion, but he was helping uh, Austin when Austin was fighting Musasi, and vice versa.
Right.
We have George helping Dustin for his fight. We have, you know, Movsar helping Edson Barboza, two 145ers. You know, and we have so many. I can give you so many examples here. You know,
Is that rare? That it sounds to me like that's a unique environment that you guys have created there to actually have that kind of
absolutely,
that
absolutely,
humility between athletes. I don't know. I'm
absolutely.
just thinking out loud. Like it doesn't seem like that would be that common. Usually it's, you're the guy at the gym and everyone kind of caters around you, but you have too many elite level top fantastic martial artists for that to happen. I guess I'm wondering, how did you guys create that? That really does seem like a unique place to me.
Discipline, you know,
Yeah.
example. You know, Dan Lambert has a huge part of it. You know,
Mhm.
because he's the owner, and he's a pretty fair guy. You know, sometimes he needs to take, you know, sides. Sometimes people don't like it, but it's always for the better of the team. You know, and for example, we had to let Kobe go.
Yeah.
We didn't want to. He was an amazing fighter, but for the better of the team, he had to, like, bro, you gotta go.
Yeah.
You can't have here, you know, creating a commotion every time you come to the gym and people want to fight you, and it's, you know, it's you can't, you know.
It's so ironic that someone coming and making other people want to fight them at a place where you're all training to be fighters, and
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
it's
But
insane.
I get it. I mean, that
And
kind
the
of
American Top Team, sorry to interrupt you, American
no.
Top Team is probably, if not the only gym, but definitely is the gym that has more fighters fighting each other everywhere. You know, Arlovsky fought 4 training partners. Nathan Schultz fought 3 training partners. Omari just fought Josh in the semifinals of PFL, and they're good friends.
Right.
You know, it's unbelievable that we have
Really is.
so many cases that fighting 2 American Top Team fighters fighting each other. It's going to happen again. Marcos Rogério de Lima is fighting Andrei Arlovsky in the end of the month. So comes down to what? Communication, respect, and organization, because we organize them both training at separate time,
Right.
in separate parts of the gym with separate coaches, you know, and keep it cordial. They don't need to be enemies.
Yeah.
You know, listen, this is the situation. It is what it is, you know, and both of the guys are training at American Top Team. You guys need to keep it civil, and that's it. You know, it's sometimes it's very hard for other people to understand what we go through. You know,
Right.
I had a very tough position that I had 2 of my main guys. One thing is 2 fighters from American Top Team fighting each other. Another thing is 2 of your guys that you are the CIC fighting each other. That's the worst. You know,
How do you handle that?
I had Nathan and Rashid fighting each other. You know, and I told them in the beginning of the season, I said, listen, I promise you that both of you guys will go to the finals. But in the finals, I'm going to travel. I'm going to sit cage side. I'm going to stay right there.
Yeah, out of respect for each other.
Corner anyone, because it's not right. I can take sides. You know, Rashid Magomedov was my first Russian that I trained. He was with me at time over 8 years. You know, Nathan, I brought Nathan from Brazil, you know, to be part of American Top Team. So I said, listen, I can't do that. I can't do that. You know, both guys are with CIC. Now, fast forward, I had Armand Sarukian and Mateus Gamrot. I don't train Mateus, even though he's my friend. He does my classes, but I'm not his CIC. So I corner Armand against Gamrot, you know, and we talked about it, you know, beforehand, before the fight was on, before everything. His head coach, Mike Brown, I was Mike Brown CIC on his career, you know, so we good friends, you know, so we talked about, said, listen, it's our job. Just, that's it, you know, and let's do it. As long as American Top Team gets to the top, we're good, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that again, I think it goes back to the trust part of it, right? Like you have to have your athlete's best intentions in your heart, and you have to trust the other coach has the same way. And at the end of the day, you guys are all going to get a beer together and celebrate the victory one way or another, and then figure out the things that need to be done on the other side. That really is, it is admirable, though. It's unique. It's very unique. And it's ironic that there's that level of respect and understanding in a sport that to the outsider, to the fan watching for the first time, it looks like a bloodbath. It looks like so chaotic, when really martial artists are some of the most humble, respectful people capable of being that level of aggressive. And then at the same time, the clock stops, and the first thing they do is embrace their opponent and tell them how much they respect them. It's something very, very unique and cool about martial arts that you don't even see in the basketball game ends and they run to the locker room. You can't even shake your hand to the opponent. Like what's going on with that? It's interesting. One thing that I wanted to ask you about, it actually has to do with cornering, is I always get excited when I see American Top Team coaches in the corner. You guys are there almost every single event. But you know that the athlete is getting some of the best coaching in the world. Depending on the length of the fight, you either have 3 1-minute spots or 5 1-minute spots to communicate to your athlete.
2 or 4.
2 or 4. The most needed, yeah, thank you. The most needed pieces of information for them while their heart rate's high, while they're in the zone, to get back in there and apply things that you've been working on or different tactics. How do you come up with the right one? How do you come up with who speaks? And then of the person that does communicate to the athlete, how do you communicate effectively to them in that instance?
I think that the most important thing is to be calm and know what you're doing. You know, you have to have a good reading of the fight as it goes, so you probably have 45 seconds, not 1 minute. You have probably 45 seconds to tell your fighter what you want them to change or not, or encourage him, or pump him up or calm him down. So you have to be very calm, know what you're doing, and know your fighter very well, because sometimes if you know your fighter, you don't need to say much. Right. You just say a few things. He knows exactly what you're talking about. That comes with the daily interaction, right? If you train your fighter every day, you might say just a few things and you already know what you want. You already know the commands and everything. Who talks first? It depends. I like the way I do my cornerment, that my corners are, I always try to calm my fighter down for 10 seconds, make sure that they clear their mind, they breathe, they recover, and then I'll start talking. Either me or if the fight is it's pretty much a stand-up fight, and I have a striking coach with me, maybe he'll talk first, and I'll give my 2 cents in the end, whatever, but usually I talk first, and then I give the opportunity to the other coaches.
How valuable is your experience as a fighter in moments like that?
So to answer that question, I have to go back a little bit and tell you that when I moved to the United States, I had 0 MMA fights, right? Yep. So at 31 years old, I did my first MMA fight. And the reason I wanted to fight MMA at that age, because people start, fighting at their 20s, yeah, right? I started at 31 years old, but the reason I started was to get me better as a coach. I need to understand what goes on, the speed that goes on, the adrenaline of an MMA fight, so I can adjust my techniques, my jiu-jitsu, my positions to my fighters, to the fighters that I teach, right? So my original goal was to have just 5 fights, hopefully, get 5-0, get that adrenaline, get that, understanding, and then just like, okay, retire undefeated, that'll be good, whatever, But MMA is always so addicting, I have 15 fights, I'm glad I actually took many fights because I lost, so I know what a loss means. I know how to deal with a loss. I never had more than one loss in a row. My record is 12-3, and after every loss, I came back and I won. Excuse me. So this is very important for the fighter to know, what to do with the loss. Right. You can even, shrink yourself and be like a crybaby, or you can take responsibility, like a man, and come back stronger. So I think that because I had those fights, not many fights, I think I can give a very good understanding of what's going on. And not only that, I've been coaching MMA since 2001 in Brazil. Right. So I'm over 20 years doing what I do. As soon as I came to the United States, I was in a very early thrown to coach at high level, UFC, Pride, Bushido, K1 Heroes, and the list goes on and on and on. So this gives me so much experience.
Yeah.
As far as the question that you asked me, how you corner people, you have to be calm. Well, I've been in big venues. I did the Pride walkout. I did the K1 Heroes walkout. I did the UFC biggest shows walkout. So this is nothing new for me. I'm
Right.
not gonna be starstruck in the corner. No, I'm there to do my job. That I'm. This is that's like my house. When I go to the UFC, even with crowd or no crowd, this is my house. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly what I need to do. I need to be calm. I need to calm my fighter down. I need to guide him, to the light. Go to the light. Don't go to the
Right.
to the don't go to the dark side. Go to the light, and we're gonna be good. So that's really important when you have, because I had people cornering with me. They were kind of like going to a party. Oh, this is so cool. Yo, brother, listen. Maybe this is cool for you, but to me, this is my life. This is my job.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and let me do what I do. Don't start screaming and no, 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 no. Everything needs to be done professionally. I'm not there to enjoy a show. I'm there to do my job. And my job is to make the fighters that I train win. My job is to make American Top Team win. That's my biggest thing. My biggest turn on is this. I want to win. I don't like to lose, not even arguments, nothing, So I'm what drives me is to win, and I want to win.
I mean, again, a lot to unpack on that, but like the trust in the coach and the athlete, right? To be there in the corner, you got a minute, you feel like shit, you've been getting punched in the face. Maybe there's part of you that's saying, hey, you don't want to do this anymore. To have people in your corner that can calm you down, that can get you to breathe, and that you can trust because they've been there, they've done it, and they've experienced it. And so they're not full of shit, just reading you some motivational quote bullshit about how you got to get back in there and get it done. But it's real because you were there. That's amazing. And to do something like that, it's such a big risk also for you as an individual, right? To put your
Yeah.
body on the line just for the betterment of learning how to speak to your athletes better. I mean, that's amazing. I'm curious, having had the experience in jiu-jitsu tournaments and competing for so long and coming and then taking this skill set, which, as we know from various athletes, doesn't always transfer, right? There has to be a lot of evolutions in your game and your understanding of what you're doing to get to a level where you can take your mindset as a jiu-jitsu practitioner and competitor and actually become a mixed martial artist. Was there ever like doubt that you wouldn't be able to make that happen, or were there concerns along the way? Because there's a difference between doing your first bout and then going 15-3, having all of these fights, right? Now you've committed to a much longer time frame. So what were the big steps or like hurdles that you overcame as you transitioned out of being a successful jiu-jitsu competitor and into the octagon?
I think everybody doubts themselves. That if there's anyone who says, "Hey, I never doubted myself. I knew it was going to be," it's just full of shit. I was talking to Anderson Silva a few years ago, and he said, "Man, I still get nervous when I get into the cage, into the ring. I get nervous, but that helps me because it gives me that drive that I need to perform well, and to me it was the same. I needed that little fear that kept me aware always inside the cage. That since I'm a grappler, I was always very scared to get punched in the face, get kicked in the face. So that kept me real and not way to relax. I made a mistake once, and that I learned, and I bring that learning experience with all my fighters. The only fight that I came way too relaxed was a former student that left American Top Team, went to another gym. I used to finish him 2-3 times in 5 minutes when we were rolling at the gym. And then all of a sudden, Strike Force came in, paired me up with him, and I like the guy. I'm like, I'm too relaxed, you know. I don't want to hurt the kid. You know, he was my student. I know that if I take him down, I'm going to finish him.
Yeah.
Guess what? He came to kill me, and I was like half-ass. He finished me in the first round with an armbar. People, what? Exactly. So that was a learning experience that I bring to myself, and I bring to my coaching days. You have to have a little bit of fear. That keeps you real. That keeps you sharp. The problem is that some people let that fear take over, and then they freeze. They can't perform.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a little fear, a little thing that you need to be aware of everything. That's going to help you. You cannot let that fear, that many doubts go into your head, right? When we fight MMA, I used to say that we always think that our opponents have 2 arms, 4 arms, 5 legs, 2 hearts, granite chin, you know, and they don't get tired. No, they're human beings like you. They only have 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 heart. They have a chin that you can punch. They get tired as well. You know, there's no Superman. We're not fighting Superman. We're not fighting Wolverine.
It is a really interesting thing how we compartmentalize fear. So by the time that this episode comes out, I will have competed in a jiu-jitsu tournament here that's this coming Saturday. And it's everything you're saying. You know, I've been training for a while, and in my head, you start thinking about the day that you're going to go in, and no matter the level of the competition, whether it's, you know, I'm an enthusiast, I do that for fun, and it's something I want to challenge myself in. But I think about it all week long, every single day.
Yeah.
And I do that. I go, well, you know, what if they've been doing more sprints than I have? What if they've trained an extra day? What if they have better training part? You do all these things to yourself that have nothing to do with the moment of actually being there and doing the thing. And it's this really psychological element. But to your point, you can't have no fear, because if you're not worried about it at all, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, that's when fate bite your ass. When you're not worried about it. Nah, I'm not worried about anything. I'm better striking. I'm a better wrestler. I have better jiu-jitsu. I don't get tired. And then your hand drops 1 inch, and then the punch comes, and everything changes. You got taken down. You got tired. You can punch for shit. If you're not finished, they're going to overwhelm you because they have more will than you, because you don't give a fuck. Oh, this guy is an easy fight for me. But the other guy thinks, man, this is my ticket to the big show. I'm gonna grab this opportunity with my both hands, you know?
Right.
I always say one thing, and this is good for you for next week. Not always the best guy wins. But 100% of the time, the smartest guy will win.
I like that.
Write down that on paper. If you being smart.
Yeah.
If you're smarter than everybody, the day they compete, you're gonna win. Just be smart. Don't take bad choices. Don't make stupid mistakes. You know, be smart. You know, maybe the best guy, the most skilled guy, is not in a good day. He didn't sleep very well. He broke up with his girlfriend. Whatever.
How did you tackle this idea of age? Like, I think of, you know, fighters like yourself, right? You get into it at 31, you have 15 fights. You're fighting guys that are in their 20s. You got Andrei Arlovsky, who I idolized in high school, is one of my favorite fighters. I loved watching him fight. For him to come back around and have this resurgence in his career, it's motivating for me at 33 to see people that are challenging the perception of what age is. That when you get old, you're going to become inactive, you're injured. You hear people say it all the time. Oh, I don't want to try jiu-jitsu. I don't want to get hurt. My back hurts, or my wrist, this and that. And then you see these people that not only is Glover going out there and competing, he's going out there and winning a world championship.
Yeah.
how do you, as someone who again experienced that, right? You did it. You fought in your 30s. You put yourself on the line. You went through the grinds and the weight losses and the cuts and the everything.
I think comes down of being a disciplined fighter, disciplined individual. You know, I had something that it plays in my favor, that I don't know the taste of alcohol. I never had alcohol in my life. So
Wow,
this is really good,
amazing.
you know? Yeah, I mean, this is really good because I don't have that vice of getting a little bit of drunk, or you know, that little tipsy, you know, uh, feeling that you have. No, I don't. You know, I don't. I have other vices that are bad. I love a sugar, you know.
Yeah.
But when I was in camp, when I was preparing for a fight, I always, you know, uh, did with moderation. You know, I can't be without chocolate. I can't be without ice cream. But
Yeah.
I cannot be without a win. So what's better, win, or fuel myself with Haagen Dazs that I love. So for the certain period of time that you're training, you have to slow down the things that are bad for you. You have to prepare, you have to diet, you have to take care of yourself, take care of your body. You know, I'm 49 years old, and next year will be 50. March will be 50. And every single Friday, I roll with the fighters. My jiu-jitsu class is always on Fridays at American Top Team, and every Friday I roll with them. That keeps me young.
Yeah.
And if they go light on me, I get mad. I say, listen, I don't need your help.
Right.
Go 100%. The I'm rolling, not to show that I'm rolling. I'm rolling because I want to roll with you. I don't care if you tap me out. I don't care if you get the best of me. I don't care if I get tired. What I care is that I keep doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
because I'm still learning. When I roll with people, I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to even tire, try to do some technique, what kind of hip movement I have to do to help me when I'm tired. You know, those things that you have to be practicing to to develop on your game so you can teach your fighters. You know, so I keep myself young. I train every day with my students at my gym, you know, with the gi, and every Friday I train with the pro fighters, you know. And one thing that I that I want is for them to look at me and say, man, my instructor, my coach, my head coach is an example
Yeah.
for me. I want to be an example for the fighters I train, a good example, because I don't let, for example, I don't let any of my fighters go into a sauna by themselves. I do sauna with all of my fighters. You know, could be 6 fighters on the card. I do sauna with all of them because they know that I suffer with them. So when I tell them to do something, they're not gonna say, "Well, we never do it.
Yeah.
You never did it." Well, it's easier for you to be outside of the sauna and tell me to stay another 20 minutes. No, 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 no. I'm here with you, brother. You're going to do it. You're going to make weight. I don't care what you do. You're going to do it, and we're going to do it together, you know?
You know, there's another
So,
component to this that I know you as a, I, I obviously don't know your family, but I see, you know, your children on Instagram and stuff, and the relationship that you have with them is obviously very real and powerful. My dad is 57 now, and he's CrossFitter. He doesn't train martial arts, but CrossFit. He competes in like the Spartan stuff. And I don't know when your children will be able to tell you this, but it is really motivating to be able to see your father at a later stage in his life against the other fathers that are also that age, and you see that yours is active and he just fucking gets shit done, and he shows up on Friday and rolls with the pro fighters. It just gives this example that's very, I don't really know how to put it into words, but uh, it just makes that seem like it's possible. for me too, that over the next 25,
Yeah.
30 years, I'm not going to get ripped in half by my activity level, or that I'm not going to deteriorate into nothing and have to, stop doing all the things that I love. And it's back to what you said, that example setting, like your children see it. They see that you're active. They're going to be active. Your fighters see you sitting across the sauna from them. They appreciate that. Again, it builds trust. It's like,
Yes.
we need more
100%.
people
Yeah.
saying fuck it and going out there and being examples past 45, past 50, to show that you can do this. You don't have to be some crazy exception to the rule to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree with, leading by example. I think it's very, corny to say those things that people say all the time, but that's no other definition.
Yeah.
I lead by example. I show you, I show you what you have to do, and so this way there's no negotiation,
Right. Do you change your, so if you think back to, like, when you started competing in jiu-jitsu, very fast use of judo, very quick athlete, explosive. As we get older, we age out of some abilities. We can't deny that, right? Like, we lose explosiveness. You're not going to power clean the same amount at 50 that you power clean when you were 20. So when you're rolling with your pro fighters, when you're rolling with people, gi, no gi, whatever it is, do you find yourself as you get older adjusting the way in which you train, or do you keep the same intentions and just get beat in certain areas and accept it?
No, you have to go around the things that you cannot change in life.
Right.
You can change age, you cannot change losing speed, you cannot change losing explosiveness, but you can change getting more technical. You can change being smarter. You can change by, adjust a few positions. You can change by being stronger. You can always get stronger, until certain point, but you can always get stronger. But I think the biggest thing is here, the more experience you have, the smarter you become, and you see the shortcuts that the young guys don't see it. It's just being, smarter. I think that's the best word to describe.
Yeah, it seems like intelligence is, in any competitive arena,
be intelligent. Yes,
can be a benefit. You had said that you break down jiu-jitsu into gi jiu-jitsu, no gi jiu-jitsu, and then jiu-jitsu for mixed martial arts. And
yes,
if we think about those, obviously the difference between gi jiu-jitsu and no gi or jiu-jitsu for martial arts is very clear, as you no longer have the gi, the lapels, the sleeves, the pants, etc. But we're seeing, in some cases, successful transitions, like Marcus Bucheca, right, comes over to one. He has a great record. He's taking a phenomenal career with gi jiu-jitsu, applying no-gi tactics, putting it in the martial arts arena. I would imagine that he's a phenomenal student who's humble and willing to learn. What do you think is the limiter for fighters coming over?
But it wasn't like that in the beginning. He came to us and he stayed, I believe, 1 year without competing. And the first time that he did sparring, he sucked. He was losing back position. He was not finishing people there like purple belts, because it's different. You need to punch. You need to make sure that you impose your will by punching and adjusting your position, so when you punch, you don't lose them. It's very common in a jiu-jitsu guy transition to MMA. They either hold and don't punch, or they punch and don't hold. So the adjustments that I say every time that I have an interview is the no-gi jiu-jitsu helps a lot the no-gi, the MMA jiu-jitsu, but it has to tighten all the screws. You have to make sure that you have positions that you have to be able to punch and still keep the guy where you want. Or you go into a submission, make sure you set it up with punches first, and then go for submission, because we've seen so many great athletes that didn't transition very well to MMA. Marcelo Garcia is the number one guy. To me, he's one of the best ever.
Yeah.
And he had one fight which he lost. He took the guy's back and didn't finish him. Can you believe that? No one can believe it. The guy was just still like this. He didn't punch. Referees threw them up.
Where he could have been hitting to soften him up and get the hands to move and then start to.
Exactly. Or maybe don't take the back right at that moment. Soften him up a little bit. Make him tired. Make him give you the back. And there's the MMA gloves. There's a bunch of stuff that can mess you up. So you have to be training for a certain amount of time in order to do the transition very well. And some people don't have patience. Some people are not humble enough to say, I'm entering in a new sport.
Right.
I was a black belt in gi. I was a high level no gi. I'm a blue belt in MMA Jiu Jitsu.
Right.
I'm getting there. I'm going to get there. And I'm going to get there fast because I have all these other attributes.
Right.
But it's still not there. And Bucheca was so amazing that he understood everything. That this conversation that I'm having with you, he understood very well. Right. So he was already prepared to suck at first.
Do you think that's because he was already he was a champion? He had experienced winning, losing, growing. He had experienced fame, stardom, all these things had been part of who he was prior to you guys getting him. So was the conversation maybe easier to have with someone of his humility to say, hey?
100%. The reason that he's so good is because he's so humble.
Yeah.
He learns from everyone, and he wants to learn.
Right.
And he knows that he can do a lot better. He knows that he can learn a lot still in the baby steps as far as a mixed martial artist. We can't deny his accomplishment in gi and no gi, but in MMA, he's still, crawling, I would say.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy to crawl and win. It's really cool to see.
And it's going great. He's finishing everybody. Yeah. He's finished with submissions. He's finishing fast. He's not getting hurt. That's amazing. Hopefully we can keep that for years and years to come. But because of his personality, that he's humble, that he has no ego, he learns from everybody, very respectful to all the coaches. That's why he grows up fast. Yeah.
It's hard you can't really teach. You can coach past that, but you can't really teach that.
You can't.
Into an athlete to have that awareness, to be able to enter having so much accomplished and leave it all at the door to be molded into hard. The next evolution of what you become. Do you feel like the transition I feel like from a bystander, a fan's perspective, you see so much wrestling and jiu-jitsu, which is better as a prerequisite to come into the sport. Which one do you need to place your focus on? And then you have a place like Top Team where you have two phenomenal coaches in each discipline. They work together, they communicate. You can ramp up and ramp down the coaching of the two disciplines amongst the athletes. But do you see the future of evolving, like really the two coming together into jiu-jitsu and wrestling meshing more and more and more as we go out in the future?
This is not a future. This is a reality right now. And I'm gonna tell you, there's one more discipline that has to be added on that.
Judo.
Is wrestling, is jiu-jitsu, is ground and pound. It's just one discipline. I see as one discipline.
Yeah.
Wrestling without jiu-jitsu means nothing. Jiu-jitsu without wrestling means nothing. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling without ground and pound, you're not gonna go far. Yeah. You'll probably go to 5, 6, 7, and 0, on small shows, getting easy competition. But when you go to the big show, brother, you're not going anywhere without ground and pound. So you have to have those three merged together.
This is kind of an ignorant question here, but what is the biggest difference that you see between those two disciplines and ground and pound as being a completely separate and third part that's necessary to that? Is it the explosiveness and the energy dump that happens? Is it the position of maintaining that top spot and the balance over the opponent to strike? Like, what is it about that needs to be trained as its own thing amongst those three?
First off, the ground and pound that I like to train the guys that I train is I don't want them to score. I want them to hurt people.
Yes.
Ground and pound is to hurt people. This bullshit here, body head, it's not gonna take you anywhere. Like, maybe you're gonna win a round. Okay, great, but did you look good? No, you didn't look good. Referee almost stood you up 3 or 4 times. The crowd is booing your fight. You want to actually hurt people. Then they're gonna think, holy shit, I need to get out of here. That's when the submission comes.
So as a finishing touch,
you need to make your opponent desperate to get out of there. And desperation leads to mistakes. Mistakes leads to submissions. So the guys that I train, I tell them all the time, do not, on the daily basis, don't give me that bullshit. Try to hurt people. They're going to give you everything that you want, or you're going to keep hurting them and hurting them. Maybe a 10-8 round. Maybe the referee will stop, But you have to be really effective because nobody wants to see that. Take down, get inside the guard, head down, body, head, right. Take the half, body, head, go back to full, body, head. No. Hurt people. Take the mount, hurt people. Take the back, finish them,
It's crazy what that can do, too, for a fighter's stock, right? As a fan, you put on a show like that, people remember your name. And exactly. So when you're trying to create longevity for yourself in a career, get more eyeballs on you, training that kind of thing can really be the finishing touch on exactly what you need. Before we go here, I'm very curious, with ADCC having just gone down, what seemed to be the explosion of the event. I mean, from a production standpoint, to see it on that scale, to have people like Bruce Buffer announcing a grappling event. How excited are you for the future of grappling, and where do you think its place will be alongside UFC, Bellator, Pride, One?
I mean, first of all, I'm a huge fan of ADCC. I've been
competitor.
The early days, I was still, I've been a competitor, but I've been a fan, of ADCC. Bruce Buffer has been announcing from a long time. He announced me in 2005. So it's not nothing new. What was new was Lenny Hart from Pride with Bruce Buffer on the line. I think there's like ADCC before Mo Jassin and after Mo Jassin. Mo he's taking a grappling, boring tournament to a whole new level.
Makes it exciting.
People are, are already talking about 2024.
Yeah.
So many sponsors, so many big eyes, so many good things, Hall of Fame, great matches. I think Mo has done an unbelievable job this year. Always you have to give a so-called boring tournaments tools to get better.
Right. And
I think the way even the referees are trying to push the matches nowadays are so much better. They're not allowing people to stall. They give him penalties all the time, and we've seen it. In the '88 finals. that it was so many penalties, you know. And then you see guys like Gordon Ryan just taking over, man. I mean, whether you like it or not, you know, Gordon is the best athlete nowadays, you know, in ADCC. That's hands down. I listen. I think Marcelo is the greatest of all time because of his size. He was small and he was doing things to bigger people that nobody ever done. But let me tell you something. Gordon has done things that not even Marcelo has ever dreamed to do it.
Right.
Gordon was getting people, you know, I'm going to get you on the back. I'm going to get you on the right side armbar. I'm going to get you in a triangle. I'm going to get you on this, and that. Here's the paper, gives to Pro Grappling, you know, and after the match, the guy, wow.
Yeah, it's like a magic trick.
Unbelievable. And he was doing those things with good people,
right?
Not with lower level competition. You know, he's finishing people. They're very good. Yeah. And he's the only guy that won 3 weight divisions in ADCC. And he's the only guy who competed in a regular tournament and competed on a super fight. Man, nobody does that. Nobody ever done that. People, oh, I'm going to do the super fight. I'm just going to train to super fight. No. And he wanted to go on the absolute as well.
That's a level of athleticism
and confidence. And he knows he's going to finish everybody. But let me tell you something. Had he won the absolute and the super fight, next year there will be no super fight. Him against himself. You know? So that's why people said, no, you can't do that.
Right.
You know?
It is crazy when you see how he makes elite level people look like they're
white belts.
Yeah.
You know, he finished
slow and aggressive. Like
it's okay. Nicky Rod's gonna give him a run for his money. Good luck. Less than 2 minutes. You know,
it's crazy.
It's crazy. So I personally like him. He was always very respectful to me. He came to American Top Team. He did my class, and I was like, "Hey, Gordon, you do whatever you want in the class if you want to do other technique," because he was drilling with Steve Mako. Mm-hmm. If you want to do whatever you like to work on, and I'm okay with that. He said, no, coach. I like this technique. I'm going to do whatever you say. He was very humble, very respectful,
awesome.
Very nice to me, you know, and I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan of his, you know.
I think also no matter how people feel about him, what it's doing for the sport of grappling is there's nothing like it. It's huge.
Yeah.
Huge, and it's huge. It's awesome.
Going back to my ADCC, I think I'm very excited about 2024. It's going to be in Vegas again, you know, and expect to 2024 be even bigger than 2022, you know, because I know Mo, he's going to take maybe 6 months off and start already planning the 2024, you know, and he's going to be insane. You know, I'm very excited. And you have to say that Mo is the man to do the job. He lives and breathes, and he has the right people around him to help him out. He has good contacts. He's a great person. It shows.
I'm excited to have Amy Campo on the show soon here in the next week, and watching her performance was so cool. Like just hearing the stadium as loud as it was for her victory, and seeing her stand there awaiting the handshake, and just waiting and finally getting it. It was so cool. It's special to be alive at a time when something like ADCC is growing at the rate that it's growing, and grappling is. I have friends who have nothing to do with martial arts, with grappling, with jiu-jitsu or anything, asking about it or talking about it. And I feel like that's always a cool sign with a sport, when you get people that really aren't involved with it at all being curious and being excited, and that's what will help it, continue to grow.
Yeah, that was a great.
But we've come to the end of the hour and a half. I thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on here. I've made so many notes of highlights of amazing things you said that I'm going to have a very tough time choosing which pieces to cut down into the promotional stuff. But I really appreciate you taking the time to be here.
Thank you so much, brother. It was my pleasure. We can do this again. It's always great to talk about a little bit about the American Top Team, about my life, about my experience. Maybe I can help some people who are listening. Maybe I can have someone that is listening that one day is going to be training here at American Top Team. Maybe I can help, and be a champion. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you so much.